The smell of smoke filled the air as I pulled into the driveway of my childhood home. It had been years since I had stepped foot on this property, and now, as the late evening sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows on the ground, I felt a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. My parents had decided to sell the house and move to a smaller place, and they asked me to help clear out the last remnants of my childhood. As I parked the car and stepped out, memories flooded back. Endless summers spent playing in the yard, laughter echoing through the halls, and the warmth of family dinners. But those memories were tainted by the dark events that had transpired here. Secrets buried beneath the floorboards and behind closed doors. I was 15 when everything changed. It was a night like any other, filled with the usual family chaos, until the argument erupted. My parents had been drinking, and the tension escalated until the air was electric with rage. I still remember hiding in my room, pressing my ear against the door, listening to the harsh words that cut through the walls. It was the night that broke us, the night when I finally understood that our family was not as perfect as it appeared. I shook my head, trying to push the memories away as I grabbed a box from the trunk. The sound of my footsteps crunched against the gravel driveway, a reminder that I was not alone in this space. I opened the front door, its creak echoing in the stillness, and stepped inside. The air was stale, a mixture of dust and forgotten memories, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I started in the living room, sifting through old photographs, faded toys, and dusty trinkets. Each item carried a memory, some sweet, others bitter. I came across a box of my father's old fishing gear, and for a moment, I was transported back to those lazy afternoons by the lake, casting lines and sharing stories. But then the memory twisted, morphing into images of my father's anger, the way he had thrown things during fights, the way he had once nearly destroyed everything we had. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to focus. I was here to clear out the house, not to relive the past. I pushed aside the fishing gear and moved on to the next room, the kitchen, where countless family meals had been shared. But the sight of the empty table brought a lump to my throat. I could almost hear my mother's laughter, the smell of her cooking wafting through the air, and then I remembered the night she had stormed out, leaving us with nothing but silence and shame. The sun began to set, casting long shadows that danced across the walls, and I hurried to finish my task. I moved to the bedrooms, gathering clothes and old toys, all while feeling an oppressive weight on my chest. It was as if the walls themselves were holding on to the anguish, refusing to let it go. In my old room, I found a box labeled Memories. It was filled with letters, journals, and photos. I hesitated, knowing that opening it would force me to confront the very things I had tried to bury. But curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the box, pulling out the first item, a worn journal. Flipping through the pages, I found entries detailing my adolescent struggles, my dreams, and my fears. But then, toward the end, I found a chilling entry, dated the night of the explosion. What is scared? I can't keep pretending that everything is okay. Mom and Dad are fighting again, and I don't know how to stop. Oh, I just want us to be happy. The words sent a shiver down my spine, and I felt the weight of despair settle over me. That night had changed everything. My father had exploded with rage, and in the chaos, he had knocked over a candle, igniting a fire that consumed our home and left us homeless. I had buried that memory deep within me, but now it resurfaced like a dark specter, demanding to be acknowledged. I slammed the journal shut and tossed it back into the box, my heart racing. The anger I felt was suffocating. It had been years since I had allowed myself to feel anything about that night. I had buried the pain, pushing it away like a heavy stone, but it was all coming back now. Every scream, every moment of fear, and the feeling of helplessness that had haunted me for so long. I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. I needed to finish this and get out of here. As I moved to the last room, my parents' bedroom, I hesitated at the door. I had not set foot in this room since that night, and the thought of entering filled me with dread. But I pushed the door open, the hinges creaking in protest. The room looked untouched, as if time had stood still. The bed was made, and my mother's perfume still lingered in the air, mixing with the smell of dust. I glanced around, searching for anything of value to pack away. But then something caught my eye, a framed photograph sitting on the dresser. I picked it up and stared at the image. It was a picture of our family, taken on a vacation just a few months before everything fell apart. We looked so happy, so full of life, but now that happiness felt like a cruel joke. I set the photo back down, feeling the weight of grief settle heavily in my chest. As I turned to leave, I noticed a small wooden box tucked away in the corner. It was ornate, intricately carved, and I had no memory of it. My curiosity piqued. I walked over and opened it. Inside were letters addressed to me, written by my parents. My hands trembled as I read the first one. My mother's handwriting was clear and elegant. She spoke of her love for me, how proud she was of the person I was becoming, and how she wished she could protect me from the pain of the world. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I read her words, but then I moved on to my father's letter. His was different, shorter, more abrupt. He expressed regret for his mistakes and how he hoped to make things right. He wrote about the struggles he had faced, the demons he had fought, and how he wanted to be a better father. But the tone shifted at the end, a dark undercurrent creeping in. He hinted at feeling lost and trapped, and for the first time I felt a sense of understanding for him. As I finished reading, I felt an overwhelming wave of emotions crashing over me. I had spent so many years resenting my father, placing all the blame on him for the family's collapse. But now I realized it wasn't that simple. He had been battling his own demons, and the fire had been an accident born of rage and despair. I closed the box, my mind racing with thoughts and feelings I had suppressed for far too long. It was as if I had unearthed the truth behind the facade of my childhood. The past was not just a series of mistakes and failures. It was a tapestry woven with love, pain, and redemption. The shadows in the room deepened as night fell, and I knew I needed to finish packing up. As I gathered the last few items, I felt a sense of closure beginning to wash over me. I had spent so long running from my past, but now I was ready to confront it. Once I finished, I stood in the middle of the living room, taking one last look around. The silence felt heavy, but it was different now. Less suffocating, more like a promise. I had faced my fears, and I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. It was time to move on, to let go of the pain that had held me captive for far too long. As I stepped outside, the cool night air hit me like a breath of fresh life. I took a moment to look up at the stars, their light shining bright against the dark canvas of the sky. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace settling in my heart. I was ready to forgive, to heal, and to embrace the future without the weight of my past dragging me down. I walked back to my car, my heart lighter than it had been in years. I had come to this house to clear out the remnants of my childhood, but instead, I had uncovered the truth about myself and my family. The memories would always be a part of me, but now they no longer held power over my life. As I drove away, I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. I was no longer a prisoner of my past. I was free to live, to love, and to create a future filled with hope. The night was a time of reckoning, a chance to confront the demons that had haunted me for so long. And as I turned the corner, leaving my childhood home behind, I realized that I was finally ready to embrace the person I was meant to be.